Well, hello, everybody. We're back with the Race2.conf. You saw us yesterday doing the data deep dive from the Logitech McLaren G Challenge, and today we're excited to do some live racing with some of our friends around the world on the F1 2021 game. My name's Corey Minton. I'm the director of the observability strategists here at Splunk, and I'm joined by
Kyle Prinz, a observability strategist here at Splunk as well, and I'm super excited to always be talking racing data and Splunk.
Let's go racing. So we just started the F1 2021 session. We're going to invite our racers to go out and do a one-shot qualifier. Then we're going to have a short session race that's going to be about a 20-minute race. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the Race2.conf session, or what we're really trying to do here, is Splunk is a big-time fan and technology partner of McLaren. And as such, we really wanted to try to find ways where we could make the story of Splunk's turning data into doing platform into something that relates to racing. And so just like the folks at McLaren have to get more than 300 metrics in real time from every F1 car on track to be successful, we figured out that you have to do the same sorts of data collection in a sim racing context in order to be successful in esports. So we're excited to bring this broadcast to you. We're actually going to show you, we got some racers behind us, Haley and Tim, on some F1 sims in the office here in San Francisco. And we're going to show you some racing action, and we're going to actually show you some behind the scenes data that we're actually pulling from the racing platform. So let me get the race up here and running.
Yeah, we are on a brand new platform, so we're figuring things out live, having a bit of fun with this, which, hey, is always good.
Yeah, so you're going to see us going through the race broadcast here. And what we're basically doing is we've got about 10 or 12 drivers, it looks like, on track with us. And each of those drivers actually has a small application running that we've designed that actually pulls data 10 times a second in real time from the F1 2021 game and sends it into Splunk. And so what we're hoping to do for you is give you some insights into what's happening in the race and show you some of the capabilities that you can use from Splunk Observability and IT Operations platform to deliver that same sort of insight to racing. Now, quick history for those of you who haven't seen maybe some of the broadcasts that Kyle and myself and team have done before. We have this program called Data Drivers at Splunk. And Data Drivers is really our goal of bringing insights to esports like never before. And that manifests itself in a couple of different cool broadcasts. We've done some races like this before on iRacing previously. We've done hackathons where we actually invited folks to get hands-on with the data in Splunk to actually work through some challenges that were provided to us by the McLaren Shadow Team Management. And then we've actually gone further and created these experiences that we now do with McLaren at conferences around the world. And actually part of the reason why we're here is if you're attending RSA conference or if you know somebody that's there, at the Splunk booth, we've got 2 racing simulators from McLaren, and we'll be having folks come in and come race with us. So now it looks like we got the broadcast up and running. It looks good. Who are we on board with here?
So we are actually on board with one of the Red Bull vehicles.
That looks like Tim Hard.
I believe it might very well be,
right.
which is great. We're going to flip over a little bit, so we might need to do a little bit of work on the background on the spectating of this.
It's all good.
But we'll get that set here in a second.
So one of the things that is we're going to do today is we're going to be jumping over to our good friend Matt Moore, who is our resident data science expert on the observability strategy team. Let's bring Matt on to say hello. Matt, tell the folks hello and about yourself, my friend.
G'day, Corey. Thank you, guys. Awesome to see you all this morning, this bright and extremely bright morning in San Francisco. I'm Matt Moore. I'm an aspirational data scientist here at Splunk and one of the observability strategists. Ordinarily based out of the cloud and occasionally cold and miserable Melbourne, Australia, but in San Francisco today and absolutely loving the summer weather.
Excellent, Matt. Well, thanks for joining us. You're going to see some cool dashboards. Let me give you a quick preview. This is kind of cool. We're going to go over this in a bit more detail, but this is a dashboard that Matt has created for us that you're going to see this if you go to .conf, if you're at RSA conference. And this dashboard is pretty slick. It's real time, so we're actually collecting data from a number of racers, including the folks on the floor at .conf. Matt, just give us a quick kind of overview of what we're seeing on this while the team's getting gridded up.
Absolutely. The 40,000 foot story is this is a real-time commentary dashboard that gives us insights into what's happening with our select guinea pig racers here in the studio today. This gives us the current position and leaderboard, whether the race is active, inactive or not, how many sims are participating, and who's dominating parts of the track. Who's got the highest speed, who's got the best sector times, and we're conditions happening, where people are right now, and what speeds are advanced in various parts of the map. Interestingly, in the bottom right, we're also pitting you against all of our booth walk-ins at the RSA conference. And I'm seeing some very, very good performance from the guys who are online today. We've already taken the first 2 slots, as well as 4th position, which is absolutely awesome.
Nice, Matt. Well, thank you very much. Well, it turns out we're having a little difficulty with the race broadcast, but we'll continue in just a second. We'll see if you go ahead and retire and then see if you can spectate and see if that works out. So one of the things that we're excited to see as the race starts to unfold, and actually we can see behind us, it looks like there's a bit of a group. Now, in fairness, there's there you go.
There we go.
Oh, we made it.
Despite our best laid intentions, there's always one small hiccup that we'll have, and unfortunately today, it was mine.
Yeah, so this is the beauty of live TV, is that everything doesn't work out perfectly. Perfect. Now we can see we got some racers. Let's go through the grid real quick. We got Jeremy Howerton joining us. Jeremy's a longtime friend of mine. Actually, was a customer years ago when I worked at a previous technology company, and is a great Splunk customer. And we've got let's see, we've got a handful of customers in there, and then we've got. It looks like we've got now. I did say before we've got Tim Hart in this seat right over here. He's one of our observability strategists, and then. And the seat right over here is Haley Ferrario, our events. She's really the boss. She makes sure that we're all doing the right things at the right time in our events marketing team. So we're one of the things we're excited about for .conf is the story of racing is cool. Like obviously Netflix Drive to Survive has made F1 really popular here in the US. Yes. But Splunk's been a partner of McLaren's for multiple years. And one of the things that McLaren, the story's cool around the F1 cars. But the Shadow Esports team is something that maybe folks don't know about. These sim racing. Oh, who's down?
Tight little spin out there. I believe Jeremy Howerton just gave it maybe a little bit too much gas around the corner and struggling with it. It is a video game, but at the same time, it is so realistic.
Yeah, and Matt, I actually want to bring something up. We actually saw there just in the dashboard, you have this active packs metric. So can you tell folks about the active packs and what that's looking for and sort of why we look at it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're looking for interesting things that are happening during the race. And as you watch an F1 race occur, people tend to bunch up around the corners and you end up with these packs of cars jostling for supremacy as they go through. So what we're doing here is we're using density-based clustering to work out if any packs of cars are currently forming those clusters. Mm-hmm. Currently, we're running that over the 2, I should stop calling them guinea pigs, but guinea pigs in the office here. It's very, very rare to get a pack of just 2 cars when they're at opposite ends of the track. But if we watch this as we go through, we should be able to detect when they get close to each other and essentially ride side by side.
Yeah, it looks like our leaders as well, who are using the Mercedes livery, are able to stay relatively close within a pack, Matt. Are you able to see that, or are they just outside of that cusp of it?
So that is a great question. We're not currently performing that same analytics across the broader pack. We're doing a slightly different data ingest schema for those guys. So unfortunately, I can't see that, but I will be able to look into it retrospectively and replay the packs after the race.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's one of those things that when in an F1 race you have DRS, which is that dynamic resistance system, that when they get into a pack, if you're within a second of the car in front of you, you can actually, your wing will open up in certain sections of the race so that you get a little extra horsepower. So if you are in that pack, it gives you a good chance for overtakes. And in 2021, the season, the cars weren't they weren't the same as they're racing this year. So if you're watching racing this year, a lot more competitive, close racing. Now, one thing that we do want to call out is that part of the prize for those folks who are racing with us today is that, these 2 races to .conf, we're here to get people excited about .conf and what's happening next week, to give you a little preview. But the folks here are actually racing to qualify. Oh, this man, that looks so good. He's out farming in the grass. That's too bad. He's still doing burnouts. I love it.
Taking a little victory lap.
So one of the things that these folks are competing for is the fastest 2 drivers from today's race and the race on Thursday will actually have a chance to participate in our championship race at Splunk, which is happening Wednesday at around 4:30 p.m. Pacific time. And basically what's happening there is, as I said, you've got the racers that are the 4 fastest participants in the race to .conf. You'll have the at the McLaren experience area at .conf, you'll have 8 simulators where folks can come in and do time trials, and the 4 fastest drivers during .conf will have a chance to race in that race, along with some really cool guests we've got from McLaren's Shadow Esports team. So we've actually got a couple of coaches from McLaren, as well as their brand ambassador, Ben Daly. Tio Marduk is going to join us. So one of the most popular sim racing streamers on the planet is going to be there in Vegas, coaching folks on racing, but also competing with all the folks that qualify. So we'll see how fast they are. And we've got some other exciting McLaren guests that are going to join us for some interviews and stuff. So definitely stay tuned to Twitch, LinkedIn, wherever you're watching this broadcast for the broadcast coming up at .conf next week. And, one of the things that, I get excited about with .conf is it's in person again.
Yes.
We're actually back.
Yes.
It's been kind of wild. I don't know if you've missed sort of the in-person life.
Yeah. We're here in San Francisco right now, and we're bouncing back and forth between RSA's conference, where we're doing a bit of a McLaren racing experience there. And so it feels a little bit like a warm-up, so to speak, to .conf next week. And I'm so excited. It's super cool to see the understanding of how we get data out of the esports world and get it back into people's eyes, and being able to show that in a live situation while they're able to race and have some fun behind the steering wheel. I'm really excited for next week, and the guests we have, and just the size of what this will be next week will be super exciting.
Yeah. So if you're not signed up for .conf, again, fantastic technology conference where you'll hear from Splunk talking about our incredible use cases, new product technologies, and customer stories of success around security, observability, and then frankly, just general use of the Splunk platform to bring data to doing in some unique ways. So encourage you, if you haven't checked it out, conf.splunk.com to join us there.
We also have multiple ways of joining .conf.
That's true. You can join us in Vegas. I think that's the preferred way, but that's because I draw a lot of energy from being near other people, which I think qualifies me as an extrovert.
Yes.
But if your introvert tendencies are stronger today than maybe they've ever been in the past, based on the way the world has unfolded in the last couple of years, you can still join us virtually, and there's no judgment. We're making the content all available to you. And again, lots of opportunities to enjoy racing experience there in a virtual context. Now, Matt, we're looks like about a third of the way through the race. Are you seeing anything interesting in the data that might be something we can talk about? Actually, I see you got this cool other dashboard that we hadn't shown yet pulled up. Why don't you give us a little background on what this dashboard is showing?
Absolutely. Variety is the spice of life. And if I came with just one dashboard, I'd be deeply ashamed of myself. So what we're looking at here are insights that allow us to know where the action's happening and who's responsible for it. So up in the top left, we have the entire track lap distance separated by who's achieving the fastest speed. So we can see Jeho 2.0, Jeremy.
That's Jeremy Howerton. Yeah, that's our guy.
I know that name very well from a lot of data sets I've looked at in the past. Jeremy, you are apparently data famous. I don't know if that's a thing.
It is now. Let's go with it.
Yeah.
So we can see who is actually achieving the best speeds in different parts of the track. And it does seem to go with different driving styles and personalities. There are always some people who do better at some parts than others. In the middle, this is really interesting because we're looking at where overtakes are happening on the track.
Yeah.
Now, I originally thought they don't happen on the corners, right? Because you need to do things on the corners. Interestingly, that didn't occur. It's always before or after. But for this track specifically, almost all of our overtakes are happening right on the left-hand side of the track, right before that first corner. So, interesting.
That is interesting. I appreciate that. Let me bring the race back up, see how we're going. So it looks like, man, Jeremy really struggled with that spin, but he's fighting his way back up the pack. That's good, Jeremy. We're big fans of Jeremy. He's participated in most of our data drivers events, and I think he and what's the silent assassin, John Hayward?
Yes,
the other
UK,
the other data drivers participant who is perennially just a dominator. So that's always fun to have them. Now, when you're at .conf, again, whether you're joining us virtually or you're joining in person, which we'd love to see you in either one of those, there's not just this racing experience happening that's going to happen on the floor in the data playground where, again, we're going to have a McLaren F1 car with some augmented reality data experiences, which I'm really excited about. We're actually showcasing Splunk Mobile. So the dashboards that we've created for these races are actually going to be played through Splunk TVs. And Kyle, you've done a lot of the development work there. Why don't you tell them a little bit about what that means?
Yeah, so it's been really exciting. We actually had Kelly Kong and team from the Splunk Mobile and Splunk EDV division reach out to us and say, hey, we love the idea. We love the dashboards. How can we get them in the palms of everyone's hands? And how can we get them in the form of an Apple TV, which, as you know, is a great medium to be able to get information out of. So we are actually, we work together and we'll have a live dashboard via Splunk Mobile.
Oh, what a pit exit. That was impressive.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I just saw the Haas car there. Just barely. Jerry just gets ahead of Lando.
Daniel Ricciardo, he's actually, he feels like he's getting quite comfortable in the race now with the car. You know, it is a different setup than what we've done before.
It's true.
So we're really excited for Jeremy Howerton. I'm personally pulling for him. We'll see how he goes.
No offense, Tim.
No offense, y'all. You're doing great. No. But the Splunk Mobile, you'll be able to download it through the App Store and be able to get live looks at our leaderboard weekof.com, which we're particularly excited about.
Yep.
Now, if you've ever played with Splunk TV in the past, we will be showcasing that as well, where you'll be able to see Matt's dashboards live while we're racing our simulators at .com on the show floor, and we can give you a product tour of that as well. And seeing what's coming with that makes me really excited to see all the different ways that we can access data.
Well, I mean, it's also simple because, one of the things that, people have traditionally used Splunk for is, how do I surface insights that would matter to folks in a business context? And candidly, a lot of times the ways that you want, to kind of share business impact and information is with a large group of people. And as folks return back to the office, we see, network operations centers, security operations centers, really ops centers becoming, repopulated. And many of those were, critical workers anyway, so they've been doing it. But the Apple TV presents a simple way to instrument and present that data on screens in a variety of contexts. So excited to see that happen as well. Yeah. Now, while you're at .conf, as we said, big time McLaren experiences, but we actually are excited to welcome some big names from McLaren to join us. And they're going to be doing some breakout sessions that I want to clue you all into. So a couple of the ones that are on my mind is one of our good buddies, Tom West, fellow member of the Big Data Beard team, a contributor at Splunk and at Big Data Beard to a lot of the things that you've seen from us in the past around the virtual race to .conf. That was 2020 when we did the virtual race to .conf. Yes. So Tom West helped build a number of the visualizations and capabilities there. Well, he's actually been working with McLaren's esports team over in Woking at the Technology Center, and has actually been developing some of the tools that they're using in Splunk to bring insights to esports for competitive purposes.
Yes.
So it's a pretty cool story that you're going to hear that, actually through some of the data collection and analysis work that Splunk has powered, McLaren Shadow actually has some competitive advantage that nobody else has been able to figure out. So data really is that competitive advantage. So excited to see that on Wednesday, June 15th at 4 p.m. Pacific time. Tom West is going to be joined by Leaston, who is the team manager for the McLaren Shadow esports team. And they're going to talk about some of the cool things that they've done to bring esports data out of esports and competitive advantage using Splunk.
And we are seeing Jeremy Howerton pushing his way up to third.
Let's go, J-Ho.
Pulling for him today, buddy. Let's see how he does. Yeah.
I do love it. We've actually got Haley operating under my Steam account, and clearly the pseudonym The Beard is not appropriate for her. She doesn't have quite the luscious face forest, but she's racing well. I'm proud of her.
Yeah.
She's beaten Charles Leclerc, who I think currently is the points leader in F1. So you're better than the best.
Doing okay. Yeah.
You're doing really good. Pretty excited.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I feel like for you personally, I mean, 9th place or 8th place.
I mean,
I would be for you as well. Yeah.
It would be an improvement over if I were actually.
Yeah, don't mind that I'm not finishing right now.
Yeah, that's called a spectator, and we need you to spectate.
Yes, I do well.
You did your job well.
Yeah.
So another talk that I'm pretty excited about. If you all have watched any of the virtual race to .conf stuff that we did in the past, Ed Green is the head of commercial technology for McLaren, and basically think of it as, for us technologists, he's the architect, the designer, the thought leader, the strategist, if you will, for how does McLaren use the technologies from their partner ecosystem and frankly anything out in the market to provide and create competitive advantage for the race team. And so really a thought leader in technology adoption. But I'm pretty excited to see his talk this year because he's actually taking it a step further on how do you take not only this technical understanding of, how do you go create competitive advantage, but how do you go improve the world around you? And so Ed's going to be talking about, there's a pretty big initiative within F1 to move to a net zero impact from a carbon footprint perspective in F1. And so he's going to be talking about going all in on climate and how you can really use data to drive climate solutions and really that race to net zero. So that's actually happening on Tuesday, June 14th at noon Pacific. So those of you here on the West Coast, if you're joining virtually, grab some lunch, sit down, and definitely check out Ed's talk. Very excited to see what he does there. While we're at .conf, and while conf is happening throughout the week, I want to clue you in that there is a variety of streams happening, both race-related that we're doing here with esports, but also some other esports. So maybe some Dungeons & Dragons, some World of Warcraft from Libby Kramer and team. We're going to be showing you data playground activities where we've brought data into doing around drone racing. We've got one that's around fitness. So we've actually got a gym set up at .conf that folks will be splunking the data there. I don't think anybody wants to see mine.
I think I'll be doing as well there as I am racing.
Yeah, you're out.
Yeah,
and
we're
the Mad
done.
Dog.
Yep.
So yeah, it's gonna be pretty excellent. Now I'm going to have a chance to, and Kyle and I are going to have a chance to sit down with a handful of folks to do some breakdowns of their sessions. We're also checking out Brett Matthews. If you don't know Brett's also out of Australia, but he is somebody who has followed his passion for esports and sim racing, and he actually built an add-on to make it possible to get data out of Forza. So if you're a Forza fan, or I'm trying to think of the other one that you wrote, Project Cars.
Yep,
And
Assetto Corsa, I
And
believe,
Assetto
as well.
Corsa also works.
He's touched them all.
That's right. So he's built some very cool add-ons and apps that make it possible for you to stream data out of your gaming platform into Splunk that's sim racing and bring some insights there. And he's actually given a talk. His talk is happening, Tuesday, the 14th at 4:20 p.m. Pacific time. And so, yeah, check that out. But he'll also be on the stream later to talk with us a little bit about his talk. So, Matt, we are 13 laps into the race. Are you finding anything interesting? I'm going to bring your dashboard up and let's take a look and see how the team's shaking out. So currently it looks like Chris Bailey, leader in the clubhouse.
Mhm.
I didn't know his name was
A non-stick
a non-stick
Today we
pan.
learned.
That's right. And so Chris Bailey, new entrant to the racing team here at Data Drivers, dominant performer.
It's just not fair.
It is unbelievable.
It's
This
just
guy.
Yeah.
Matt, what are you seeing in the data to call attention to?
Okay, so we can thank Kyle for this, for asking about packs. So out of curiosity, I've expanded out the scope of this dashboard to include everyone that can see racing. Now, this was intended for very low latency data from our two guinea pigs over there. However, it does seem to be working very, very well with data from the broader field. And just a second ago, in fact, it's gone over again, we are detecting an active pack between Chris Bailey and Haley. Even better because it rhymes.
Oh, Chris Bailey and Haley. There you go. So what we're seeing here, and I think we called it out before, but you're seeing best laps in the conference. So one of the reasons we built this dashboard was we actually have this competition going at RSA where, there's some prizes available that if you're the fastest participant, you can be entered for a chance to win a scooter, a projector, and I think a VR headset potentially, which is really cool because F1 2022 is coming out. Was it July?
I think July 1, right around there,
Okay.
around when, we pop down for 4th of July, where you typically spend outside in pools and barbecues. I will be inside.
Yes.
VR.
And, okay, single greatest development that's happening in F1 2022. What are you most excited about?
I think the VR I'm super excited about
Yeah.
because that is a huge thing. The other part, so can I have two? Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
You're
I
probably
know.
gonna take, if you're gonna take the second one though, you're probably gonna take mine.
Okay, well, what is
No,
your
it's
favorite
let
one?
me go first and see if I miss it.
Okay.
Cross-platform play.
Yes.
I told you.
Yeah.
So cross-platform play, for those of you not familiar, currently the F1 2021 game only supports sessions like this that you're seeing here. We have social sessions where everybody has to be on the same platform. So everybody's playing on a PC in this case because, the game is actually available on Xbox and PlayStation. But in 2022, the release actually allows for cross-platform play, which means we're increasing the accessibility of racing. We're making it possible for folks to get together, even though their platform may be different. And really, isn't that the world we need?
I like
People to
it.
come together from different platforms.
Absolutely.
It's really what we're about.
And being able to democratize access to this, right? Because
That's right.
you don't want to, if you're an Xbox person or a PlayStation person, you don't want to have to go buy a gaming PC. Now, given the shortages and everything, it can be kind of hard
Kind
to
of
build one.
challenging. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, so if you have an Xbox, a PlayStation, whatever your preferred gaming console is that can run F1 2022, go ahead and pick you up a Logitech steering wheel, and you can jump right on into that. And the good news is that if you do decide to change, hey, you like PlayStations or Xbox gaming, you can actually use that steering wheel, get it right into a gaming PC, and have the exact same experience. And I'm really excited to see forward-looking what we're able to do around the data collection around that globally. So pretty excited.
It's going to be cool. And we talk about this accessibility to esports. That's actually probably the biggest story with esports and how it's kind of made a change to motorsports in general is that, folks with the low price of a gaming platform and a pretty inexpensive steering wheel, for under $1,000, folks can go racing in a simulator that is very realistic and very competitive and opens up a world of opportunities for folks that want to go compete in a racing context. And it's really it's making it possible for folks to bridge the gap between digital experiences like sim racing to in real life racing. And that's actually what our friend James Hodge here at Splunk was invited to give a TED Talk just earlier this year.
Jeremy Howerton spun out a little bit. I think he got a little too excited into the corner. And
Well, luckily, he's got a big enough gap back to Carlos Sainz that looks like he'll be able to maintain position in that
I
P3,
think he'll be okay.
which is looking good.
I'm still excited for him. And as you were saying about being excited,
Yeah.
James Hodges talk.
James Hodges TED Talk, and we're going to be able to do some recaps of that TED Talk. And ideally, hopefully, the TED team gets the video out in time. They'll actually be sharing that TED Talk in its entirety, in its beautiful TED Talk format. You know, Vancouver was just so beautiful that time of year with all the thought leaders around the world. We actually had a chance to invite folks to have a McLaren experience while we were at the TED conference. So Kyle and I actually were in the hallway area. We had a little alcove with 2 simulators, and we had some pretty fun experiences where a lot of billionaires came in and wanted to come racing with us. And I won't name names, but they were pretty impressive folks that they, just like you, could not deny the fun and engaging interaction of a racing simulator. So we were excited to do that. Now, Kyle, one of the things that I think we've talked about in the past that is kind of a failure on our part is if all we do is talk about this stuff, and we don't give people a hands-on experience with the data, that's terrible. Like, that's
agree.
not very Splunky of us. It's not useful. And frankly, I would question the value of it.
We're gatekeeping our data. That's not fair.
It's not nice. I don't want to be a gatekeeper. So Kyle, tell us about Boss of Ops and observability, because it is the most exciting event that's happening at .conf. Don't get me wrong, I'm excited about racing.
Yes.
But Boo is where it's at. Tell the folks about Boo.
So if you're not familiar with Boo, Boo is a gamified capture the flag version that we set up where we open up our portfolio of products to you to come in, hang out with us for a number of hours, in person or virtual. So again, if you're attending comp virtually, you can go ahead and sign up for Boo for an event there and have some fun with us. But we have a number of scenarios set up all the way from cloud FinOps, so how to control your cloud cost, all the way to synthetics, a Logitech McLaren G challenge where we look at the racing data from there from our good buddy Matt. But you'll have a few hours to be able to run through our live environments where we are generating data live for you to be able to go through and answer questions and explore our portfolio of products. And what I'm really excited about, is if you're into Splunk and you want to play with it, you tend to get stuck playing with the data that you have at work. And while that is fun, sometimes it's a good time to go play with other data and learn a bit more, And so being able to have 3 hours of unfettered hands-on access, playing and having a good time. We'll have a DJ there.
It's true. DJ Tim Hard and DJ Crush. All the races all done. Look at that. We have got Chris Bailey taking home the win, followed by, let's see, let's pull up our dashboard. Matt, would you do me a favor? There you go. Let me pull this one up big time so we can see it. So Slaughterbeck, I apologize. I can't find this gentleman's or lady's first name. We'll find out later. But Jeremy Howerton did take home P3. Congratulations. So Matt, I'm gonna bring you on one quick time, and I did notice in the chat that they're getting some echo from us when we're talking. So I'm gonna let Matt do one quick segment. We'll keep quiet so we don't get the echo.
Absolutely. So we are seeing some interesting things here. So we got Chris Bailey in first place, followed by Slaughterback, followed by Jeremy Howerton. Interesting thing is the performance over the whole race is your average of all of the parts of the race, every decision you've made, every input you've put in. So the people who win aren't necessarily the people who got the best sectors. So Chris Bailey has dominated sector 1 and 2, which is to be expected for the winner, whereas Jeremy Howerton has got the best overall time for sector 3. Now, where it gets really cool and interesting is when we look at the race as an aggregate over the whole part and look at every little sliver to see who's got the best times or the best speed over those points. And we can see that Jeremy Howerton is an absolute monster. So if we look at the number of segments that he's got the highest speed on, it is looking at all of this yellow here and the overall count here. He is absolutely dominating the track. Unfortunately, it wasn't all on the same lap, resulting in a very, very good performance, but not the overall leadership. What I would like to, as a very last thing, bring your attention to, if we look at the brake inputs, this stood out to me as very interesting. So we can see people braking into the corners, which is what you expect, and we can see there's a consensus around the brake points. But in the same area, we're seeing the overtakes throughout this race that we just had. We have a couple of anomalous brake points that just seem to happen in the middle of straights. Now, I haven't been watching the race, but I would imagine that is where cars are starting to interact with each other and jostle. It'd be very interesting to see the replays.
Helps if I come off of mute. Sorry, we're going to kill you off camera so we don't get the echo for everybody. Well, that is pretty interesting, Matt. Thanks for the insight. I'm guessing that those straightaways were either jostling or could have been where people got together and there was some braking to avoid spin action. That's a reality. Well, folks, hopefully you've enjoyed this broadcast. And the thing I'll invite you to do is definitely come back and join us tomorrow. So tomorrow you're going to see us do what we call the deep dive into the Logitech McLaren G Challenge, which is the largest sim racing competition on the planet. Is something sponsored by McLaren and Logitech. It runs every year, big global competition. Well, the broadcasts of those competitions and the finals saw more than 5 million total views, and the broadcast analytics for those broadcasts were provided by the team right here at Splunk. And so what we're going to be doing is actually giving you some behind the scenes of how we built the broadcast analytics. And so yesterday we showed you kind of the general introduction to the Logitech McLaren G Challenge and what we built and the why behind it. But over tomorrow and on Friday, we're going to be deep diving into the open wheel specific finals and talk about kind of the open wheel analytics that we did for pre and post race. And then we're going to talk about the stock car, which here in the US we'd call that NASCAR.
That's right.
The boogity race. And we're going to be talking about the power of the draft in tow. We're going to talk about the is rubbing actually racing?
It's a good question.
Which is always kind of interesting. I think it is personally, especially if you're in a big old boxy stock car.
Cole Trickle says so.
Cole Trickle did say so. So at any rate, we're excited to bring you all behind the scenes and the things that we're doing with Splunk to bring data to esports and sim racing like never before. We look forward to seeing you all at DotConf 22 next week in Las Vegas and virtually. And if you remember nothing else about what you've heard today, remember that Boss of Ops and Observability is your best chance to get hands-on with Splunk with real racing data, even from the Logitech McLaren G Challenge, but also in real-life scenarios that will help you learn how to use Splunk Observability Cloud to solve real-world challenges for your IT operations and software development teams in a way that really nobody else is doing in the industry. So be sure to tune in to boo.splunk.com, sign up for that on Monday, and we'll see you out there. But with that, Kyle, I'll say the same thing we say every time. Whatever you're into, be data-driven and join Data Drivers.